production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, a Louisville plywood maker will rebuild its tornado-damaged plant and hire 400 new people.
In Southern Gardening, Gary turns mad scientist to tell us how plants grow.
In the Food Factor, let a slow cooker work for you. It will have supper ready when you get home.
In the markets, cattle inventory numbers surprise the beef trade, while cotton enjoys a sudden surge in buying and the highest price of the new year so far.
In the feature segment, high tunnels. These greenhouse-like structures are perfect for small or part-time growers who want to increase their income.
Well, I think there is a possibility of people improving their cash flow and things like that by getting these crops out earlier in the year. We're looking right now, tomatoes probably a month earlier than the local producer, so you get a premium price.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week. A Mississippi plywood mill destroyed by a tornado is making plans to rebuild.
Artis, last April when a tornado cut a path of destruction through Louisville, it not only destroyed homes, it destroyed jobs when businesses were struck as well. Last Friday, a company that lost its plant to the storm said it would rebuild and provide 400 new jobs. Winston Plywood and Veneer held a groundbreaking ceremony at the company's Louisville location. The rebuilding project will cost $50 million. The company chose to rebuild and expand its facility with the help of recovery funds from the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Winston Plywood and Veneer makes specialty plywood products. Company president Dr. Richard Baldwin said the state, the city of Louisville, and Winston County worked to make the new plant a reality. Baldwin said the state-of-the-art facility will enhance the quality of life in the community for years to come.
The Mississippi State University Extension Service has planned a new series of educational meetings to help farmers navigate the 2014 Farm Bill. They start next Wednesday and continue to February 24th. All these meetings run from 9 a.m. to noon. The pre-registration is strongly requested because otherwise a meeting might be canceled for lack of participation. Contact your county extension service office or email the Ag Economics Department at MSU to register. We'll also have the link on the Farm Week webpage and Facebook page. First meeting is Wednesday, February 11th at the Knoxville County Civic Center on Highway 45 at Macon. Thursday, February 12th, it will move to the Atala County Extension Service office located on Fairground Road in Kosciuszko. Wednesday, February 18th, the Farm Bill meeting will be at the Adams County Extension Service office on Carthage Point Road in Natchez. Friday, February 20th, it's the George County Extension Service office on Highway 198 at Loosedale. Monday, February 25th, go to the Alcorn County Extension Service office on Levee Road at Corinth. Thursday, the 24th, the last Farm Bill meeting will be at the Tunica Recreation Center on Abbey Drive in Tunica. Now, once again, pre-registration is strongly requested because otherwise a meeting might be canceled for lack of participation. Contact your county office of the Extension Service for help with registration or go to our Farm Week website, farmweek.msucares.com.
Making dinner or even getting takeout can be a lot of effort after a long day at work. In this week's episode of The Food Factor, Natasha Haynes of the Mississippi State Extension Service tells us how a slow cooker can have dinner ready for you when you get home.
Imagine arriving home to the aroma of a tender beef stew simmering in a slow cooker. In today's busy world, a slow cooker can be a dream come true. To make the most of this easy cooking option, begin with a clean cooker, utensils, and work area. Always wash your hands before, during, and after food preparation. If you cut meat and veggies in advance, store them separately in the refrigerator to avoid cross-contamination. If all the ingredients have been refrigerated, they are nice and cool. This will keep the bacteria from growing as the slow cooker comes to a safe temperature. Because vegetables cook slower than meat, put the vegetables in the slow cooker first. Place the meat on top of the vegetables and top with liquids, such as broth or water. For easy cleanup, spray the inside of the cooker with a non-stick cooking spray before using it. Slow cook liners also make cleanup easy. Most slow cookers have 2 or more settings because different foods require different cook times. Foods will cook faster on high, but for all-day cooking or for less tender cuts of meat, you may want to use the low setting. Within 2 hours after your meal is cooked, the leftovers should be stored in shallow covered containers and refrigerated. Once the container is cool, you can label it to freeze for a future meal. Do not reheat the leftovers in a slow cooker. Coming home to a hot supper doesn't have to be a dream. You can make it a reality with a slow cooker. It's time to make healthy food a factor in your life.
When you're cooking with a slow cooker, curb the urge to lift the lid. Experts say it can add 15 to 20 minutes to the cooking time every time you do it.
We present a lot of information each week on southern gardening, but do you have to be a scientist to successfully grow plants? Well, in this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman will take us on a mad look at how plants grow.
As a plant scientist, or as some may say, a mad plant scientist, I'm interested in sharing how plants grow with the home gardener. Do you know how water gets from the roots to the top of the plant?
Well, let's find out.
We all know that watering is important for good plant health. As a gardener waters plants in the garden and landscape, the movement of water from the roots through the stem occurs via a process called transpiration, where water evaporates to the atmosphere from small openings called stomata on the back of the leaves. This evaporation pulls the water from the roots to the top of the plant in tubes called xylem, which act in the same fashion as a hose. We can demonstrate this process using a classic and, in my opinion, fun school project.
Your celery master.
Great Scott, Marty! You're a genius! Placing the stems in food coloring, the colored water is drawn up into the celery leaves. Another interesting effect concerning water movement in a plant happens at night when small droplets of water are seen along the edge of a leaf. Many assume this is morning dew, but actually it is the result of a process called guttation. Guttation occurs when high humidity is combined with high soil moisture. Root pressure pushes water up the plant and out special water glands called hydothodes.
Fortunately, you don't have to be a mad plant scientist to be a successful gardener. In my opinion, the successful gardener understands that how to grow plants is fundamentally based on how plants grow. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
Latent water helps to plump up plant cells, and that's the reason why when plants wilt, they're starved for water. Well, in our feature segment today, let's see how this greenhouse look-alike is helping to meet the demand for local food. Time now for the markets with Leighton. And it's seldom that we mention pecans in the market report.
So true, but there is a development, one this week, that might increase U.S. pecan exports. That story a bit later. Also in the markets, there are signs now of expansion for the U.S. cattle industry. Demand is said to be key for the corn sector, as fear and worry seem to increase for soybeans. The news out of the USDA cattle inventory report on January 30th was a total surprise for the beef trade. In a nutshell, it showed herd expansion, and it is a bearish development for the cattle sector. Analyst Sue Martin gave us her take on these new numbers.
It showed much more cattle than what we thought we had. In other words, the expansion was more aggressive than what we thought this past year. Beef cows and heifers that had calved, basically 104% or so of 2013. Traders were thinking that number would be 102.7. Everything came out at 101 or higher on every category. It was a total surprise, and I think the trade was surprised. I think it's a market that moves up, and then it gives you little snapbacks, and then it moves up, and it gives you snapbacks, almost like a congestive correction here. And then I think you turn around and peak maybe the 11th of February or something around in February, and you roll right back down. I think we're going down into April, but the bottom line is we have had really healthy corrections.
Meanwhile, over in the hog market these days, the current trade is being described as a seasonal low, perhaps. Analyst Dan Huber seems to think the cash prices are somewhat undervalued for pork.
When you look at them as a year as a whole, I mean, we are really not looking at burdensome supplies of pork. I think our weights have come back down a little bit, so I think it's more of a seasonal house cleaning. We should be looking at a seasonal low here come early February with, just our standard move back up into the summer months. Not that in all the livestock concern, I don't think we're looking at new bull markets, but have undervalued where we stand as far as. With the numbers on feed at this point in time, we've undervalued where the cash price is.
Our trivia quiz is about a problem weed in Mississippi, a weed that's herbicide resistant. Here's the quiz question. How many of Mississippi's 82 counties now have glyphosate-resistant Italian ryegrass? Is the answer A, 44, B, 56, C, 70, or D, 80? I'll have that answer at the end of the market segment.
We're going to pause for a short break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll look at the calendar and the rest of the markets. Leighton Spann reports a surge in buying as cotton at its highest point so far in 2015. In the feature segment today, see why high tunnels are perfect for small part-time farmers who want to make more money in the spring and fall.
From our family to yours, Mississippi's farmers believe the best produce and livestock are grown right here at home. With ms.foodsearcher.com, you're only a click away. Using your smartphone, you'll be connected to hundreds of families and small businesses dedicated to providing you with fresh, local foods. Produce, meats, fish, dairy, agritourism, community markets, and more are right at your fingertips, no matter where you are. ms.foodsearcher.com.
Before we get back to the markets, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. The Mississippi Blueberry Education Workshop takes place Thursday, February 12th. Location is the Forest County Extension Service office at the Fairgrounds in Hattiesburg. The hours are 1 to 5 p.m. The cost is $10. Insects, diseases, pollination, mechanized harvesting, and food safety are just a few of the items on the agenda. Interested in growing fruits and vegetables as a business? Well, there's a meeting coming up to help you do just that. The I Can Grow That workshop takes place on Saturday, February 21st. Location, once again, is the Forest County Extension Service office at the Fairgrounds in Hattiesburg. Hours are 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. Learn how to grow and market citrus, vegetables, and fruits. Crop insurance options will be covered. Local growers will also be on hand speaking about their vegetable and mushroom operations. Contact the Forest County Extension Service office to register. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
Doan's Commentary reports a sudden surge in cotton buying this week. The catalyst is thought to be strong export sales and also rising prospects for a drop in cotton acreage in the United States as well as around the world. In fact, the Chinese cotton crop in 2015 could be the smallest in 12 years if new projections are correct. Analysts say a drop in the dollar index would also support futures, and a boost in crude oil prices would help cotton compete with synthetic fibers. Less corn acres and more soybean acres are the new projection everyone is watching in the grain sector as planting time draws closer. Extension Ag economist Brian Williams provided some analysis on Tuesday of this week. He begins with the corn market. Brian, it seems that the corn market is kind of grinding lower as we go along here. Do you expect that to continue through February?
Yeah, it's been coming down trending downward since about late December. It's hard to tell what it's going to do going forward. On the one hand, we've got plentiful supplies coming from a record harvest, but on the other hand, the demand's been strong, although there's some concern with lower gas prices, and that's putting some pressure on the ethanol market and stuff.
But traditionally, though, the markets, not just corn, do kind of slack off, we might say, in this time of the year?
Well, not particularly. This time of year, we kind of see some shuffling around in terms of each crop trying to gather some extra acres, and we see it kind of pick back up from the post-harvest slump, usually at this time of year.
Well, I know there have been some planting forecasts out for various parts of the country. If it does indeed turn out that we have nice weather for planting and planting gets underway fairly quickly, is that likely to impact prices in the market much?
It definitely could. The other thing to look for with corn in particular is we're expecting fewer acres to be planted, so that could help boost the prices a little bit, but at the same time, if we see good planting conditions, that usually helps to pressure them downwards as well.
Well, let's kind of transition to soybeans here for our remaining time. Would you recommend sales right now for soybeans, either new crop or old crop?
Well, again, it's hard to tell. Today the prices were up sharply, but on the other hand, they've been trending downward since about mid-January, and there's a lot of negative signs in the market. There's kind of some fear going forward on the soybean market.
So you use that word negative. Is that maybe how you feel the next quarter might go this year?
Potentially. With corn, we're expecting fewer acres. With soybeans, we're expecting the opposite. We're expecting it to pick up some more acres, and so with a good growing conditions this summer, we could see that build on another record year for soybeans.
China recently announced it is lowering the import tariff on U.S. in-shell and shelled pecans. This tariff will drop from 24% to only 10%. A Georgia congressman spearheaded the talks that began a few years ago that eventually resulted in the favorable development for pecan trade. Georgia alone exports over 75% of its total pecan production to China. Well, before our feature story, let's check the trivia answer for this week. The correct choice is C. 70 Mississippi counties have glyphosate-resistant Italian ryegrass now, this according to the Mississippi State Extension Service. For most vegetable growers in the Mid-South, it almost sounds too good to be true. A production system that delivers better quality produce, higher yields, and even an extended growing season in both the spring and fall. These are some of the factors that explain why high tunnels have become increasingly popular among vegetable growers in the last 6 years. The development comes at a time when there is greater consumer demand for locally grown produce. This story first aired on Farm Week in the fall of 2013.
This comes in a lot earlier. We picked our first tomato April the 28th, I believe. The first ripe one, not the first green one, the first ripe one. And they are really beginning to come in now.
For fruit and vegetable producer Barbara Robinson, using high tunnels or hoop houses to grow her crops in east central Mississippi makes perfect sense. The simple structures improve the profitability of her farm.
The earlier you get into the market, whether it's blueberries or vegetables, the better price you're going to get for it.
Robinson has 3 high tunnels on her farm in Quitman and is one of the more experienced producers in the state as far as this technology. Extension Area Horticulture Agent Wayne Porter and USDA NRCS personnel have used Robinson's farm to explain the benefits of high tunnel production to others.
Well, I think there is a possibility of people improving their cash flow and things like that by getting these crops out earlier in the year. We're looking right now, tomatoes probably a month earlier than the local producer, so you get a premium price.
Harvest is earlier because planting is earlier when using a high tunnel. The plastic-covered structures use the energy of the sun to warm the soil and the air inside, so crops can grow when it would be too cold on the outside in a typical field for production. Wayne Porter estimates producers can probably get a 50 cents per pound price advantage for having something early to a market using a high tunnel.
Conversely, this technology also affords growers the opportunity to extend the growing season the other direction as well. A producer is able to grow fresh vegetables late into the fall and be paid a good price when they're ready to sell. However, Barbara Robinson found out there is a temperature limit for tunnel production when it's well below freezing.
I've grown vegetables, planted them in the fall. The first ones I planted, the tomatoes, I had them to the temperature went down to 18 degrees. And when it went down to 18, I lost them. And that was in December of 10.
Just outside Meridian in Lauderdale County, producer Danny Daniels put up his first high tunnel in February 2012 and filled it with 240 tomato plants. This farm was used by Extension and NRCS for outreach meetings to explain high tunnels in 2012 and 2013. Daniels says just having the structure in view in his community improved his business.
It's been a lot of people interested in it, and they know I'm going to have tomatoes now. Used to, they couldn't see them out the field.
Daniels planted the Bush Early Girl and Celebrity tomato varieties in his tunnel. As he told these visitors to his operation, there are adjustments when shifting to tunnel production from a traditional outdoor field setting. For example, variety selection is based on the need to give a sequence in ripening.
It's a learning process, and I've learned it since this is my first year with high tunnel, and so far it's working out real well.
Back in Quitman, Barbara Robinson planted Applause, Bush Early Girl, and Amelia varieties of tomatoes in her tunnels early in the year. She says the Bush Early Girl is supposed to mature in 52 to 54 days. In addition to tomatoes, Barbara Robinson also has cucumbers and a host of other vegetables growing in the high tunnels. Again, the tunnels provide early maturity on all crops.
She started harvesting bell peppers, hot pepper, eggplant in the last week of April, which is in a normal growing season, we'd be looking sometime in mid-June on these crops.
Robinson had never grown vegetables, only fruit such as blueberries, muscadines, and figs before she got her first high tunnel. She bought that first tunnel used from someone in Verona and hauled it down to east central Mississippi on a cattle trailer.
So I brought it back, and my grandsons and I erected it. Did not get the plastic tight enough, and a very heavy rain pulled it down in the center. So we had to go back up with it.
It was the spring of 2010 when Robinson planted her first crops in a high tunnel. The outer covering of these structures is typically a single layer of greenhouse-grade 4 to 6 mil polyethylene plastic. The frame is usually steel, but could be PVC pipe. A high tunnel is typically 30 feet wide, but its length can vary from 30 or 40 feet to over 100 feet. There are many sources for high tunnel building materials. It can be a do-it-yourself project from the ground up. You can also order a kit, or you can hire someone to bring in the materials and handle all the construction. Cost share programs are available too. Both Barbara Robinson and Danny Daniels took advantage of financial assistance available through the USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service and EQIP to set up some of their production.
With the individual farmers today, we were able to cost share with the seasonal high tunnel, as well as the irrigation system to irrigate the produce inside the seasonal high tunnel.
Even without a cost share, though, I think you could pay off one of these tunnels in a 3-year period without too much effort.
Usually, the only external utility connection to a high tunnel is a drip irrigation system. The fact that it cannot rain inside the tunnel is a plus. Less moisture on the foliage means less chance for disease. This also reduces weed problems. There is no automated heating or cooling system. It's all done manually. Cooling is achieved by rolling up the plastic on the sides and ends of the tunnel. Heating is achieved by keeping the plastic down on all sides, naturally trapping solar heat during the daytime and keeping it in through the night.
The number one crop is tomatoes because that's a good high dollar crop. But if you got tomatoes, when you go to sell, you can sell other produce. Ms. Robinson here has the eggplants and the various kinds of peppers and some squashes. So, you know, the idea is sell something that anybody wants.
It's a formula that's working for Barbara Robinson as well as Danny Daniels and other producers. From East Central Mississippi, I'm Leighton Spann reporting.
You can watch this feature story once again on high tunnels at our Farm Week website, Facebook page, or on YouTube. The Mississippi State University Extension Service has a special portion of its website set apart with a lot of information about high tunnels. Now we'll also have that link on our website and Facebook fan pages. Again, farmweek.msucares.com. So again, artists, better quality produce, higher yields, and an extended growing season.
And it's local food.
That's right.
Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, we'll have some cost-saving advice gleaned from the Delta Ag Expo in Cleveland.
In the feature segment, you'll meet an 83-year-old Texas woman who's blazed a trail in the cattle business for 60 years. Minnie Lou Bradley was inducted recently into the prestigious Saddle and Sirloin Gallery.
In the Food Factor, we'll see why you need to check the dates on your food.
And in Southern Gardening, Gary will tell us how to make it Valentine's Day all year long.
For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.